There we are. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, Christy. How are you?
Hi, Linda. I'm great. Hello, everyone.
Hey, it is a hot and humid Friday. So if you're joining us, I hope it's because you're out of the sun and you're inside a little bit, getting a break from the heat. My name is Linda Downey. I'm a functional health practitioner and a transformation coach. If you're just coming across this randomly, we're so glad that you're here. Christy and I'll let Christy fill you in about herself in just a moment, but Christy and I try to get together as often as we can on Friday afternoons because it feels good to end our week together. It feels good to end our week talking about health and wellness and the things that we do with people. So I work with women primarily around stress, overcoming past painful experiences, releasing anxiety, and creating a life that they want that impacts their health and all other areas. And Christy, why don't you let folks know a little bit about you and then we'll dive in on today's topic.
Sure. I'm Christy Siriano. I'm a board certified functional wellness coach, and I work with women primarily in reversing autoimmune disease, thyroid dysfunction, and hormone imbalances so that they can get back the energy and vitality that they want to have and create the future health and life that they want to have.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was just going to say, if you're joining us now, say hello. This is streaming in between our groups and our business pages and YouTube. This is in multiple places. So we may not see your hello or your comment or question in the moment, but we will go back and try to find all of them and answer them. But please say hello. And if you have any questions as we go through today's topic, what we really wanted to talk about, and if there's any woman listening here who has had this experience, just raise your hand, even though we can't see you, or let us know. But that weight that you cannot get off, the weight that won't budge, especially going into summer, I think a lot of people might be in that place of ugh a little bit. I know I have been in my life. So we wanted to talk about that, right, Christy?
Yeah, absolutely. And Linda and I always kind of try to choose a fun, interesting topic or something that we think will be interesting to all of you and helpful to all of you. And often it arises out of conversations that we've had with clients or with other women that we've talked to. And so this is one of those situations where I had a conversation yesterday and I thought this would be a great thing to talk about because it comes up all the time. And I know you experience this too, Linda, that so often I have women come to me and they may have some diagnoses. They may know that they have hypothyroidism. They may know that they have some autoimmunity. They may suspect that they have some hormone imbalances, but really what they're worried about is the weight. And this particular conversation that I had yesterday was a woman who had been yo-yo dieting and struggling to lose 20, 30 pounds for 20 years. And she came to me saying, all I really need, this is my big concern, is the weight. All I really need is help losing this weight. I need someone who can tell me what I should be eating and how much I should be eating so I can lose this weight. And as we talked more, it became abundantly clear to me that that was not the issue. She did not need someone to tell her what to eat and how much. I mean, that might be a small, very small piece of the puzzle, but she had so many other things going on. And as we talked, there was significant inflammation. She was hypothyroid, had been hypothyroid for 20 years also, and thought that her thyroid was regulated based on what her doctors were telling her. But clearly, if you've got stubborn weight that you can't lose, there's probably some more to be explored there. She was having increasing amounts of inflammation and pain, especially in her knees and legs. She was struggling with low libido and constipation and this whole constellation of different things that so often go together. And the weight was just sort of the early warning sign, kind of the canary in the coal mine. And all she wanted to do was address the weight. Like, oh, these other things aren't a big deal. They don't really matter. I'm not too concerned about them. Yeah, they're a little annoying and I'd like to, but I think it's all because of the weight. I think it's just all because of this weight that I can't lose. So just help me lose the weight. Right. And as we talked, I tried to explain to her that it's so much more than calories in, calories out. There are so many factors that cause our bodies to hang on to weight, to think that we need to hang on to this for metabolic insurance, for extra energy, for protection. So that's really what we wanted to talk to you guys about today is what are the reasons that our bodies hang on to weight, and that we just, you're not eating in excess. You're eating a clean, healthy diet for the most part. You're moving your body, and you still just can't seem to budge the weight no matter what you do.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I've had a lot of people too say, like, I went to the doctor and it was calories in, calories out, like that old saying, if you're burning more than you're taking in, you're going to lose weight. And it's just not true. Certainly not true for women for a big chunk of their life because of the hormone relationship. Weight loss and weight management really is a hormonal issue. Whether it's insulin is the hormone that you're paying attention to, and blood sugar regulation, cortisol, is going to play an impact. And then your thyroid hormones and your reproductive hormones, they all play a huge impact on weight. Two things that you mentioned when you were rattling off this woman's other symptoms, you said constipation, and you said, well, constipation and then, having weight in extra parts of her body. And what I thought of is, this was an eye opener for me years ago when I first learned it. The body will actually create fat stores to put toxins into to get them away from your organs. So constipation means you're not getting rid of toxic substances that are in your body regularly. It's not a consistent thing. It's not a frequent enough thing. Those toxins are staying in your body. That's your lymph. That's your liver. That's your digestive system. And when that happens, the body says, okay, I need to protect all of these vital organs. So I'm going to create fat stores, adipose tissue. So we get them on our butt. We get it on our belly. We get it on the backs of our arms. And the body will shunt those toxins into those fat stores for as long as it needs to protect you. So if you don't address how often am I pooping, how well is my liver breaking down the toxins, how well is my lymph collecting the toxins from all the parts of my body and moving it, if your lymph isn't moving, you're not going to release weight. I don't care how little you eat. I don't care if you go on Survivor, that show. I don't even know if they still have that show, right? But where they're like eating leaves for like 12 weeks. I don't care if you do that. If you're not getting rid of the toxins, your body's not going to release the fat.
Yeah, absolutely. So hormone imbalances, as you mentioned, is a really big one. Thyroid hormone. If your thyroid is sluggish, that means your metabolism is sluggish and that you're not burning the fat as quickly as you could. Imbalances in sex hormones and stress hormones, which we'll get to in a second, and toxicity. Those are some of the really big reasons that we hang on to weight. So as Linda just described so perfectly, your body is so brilliant and works so hard to protect you, to protect us from the stressful, toxic world that we live in. And this is why we sometimes either we can't lose the weight at all, or we have this yo-yo effect where, yeah, maybe we go on Weight Watchers or some restricted calorie diet and maybe we lose 10 or 15 pounds. But as soon as we go off that diet, we gain it right back because the body in its infinite wisdom is saying, whoa, you just released a whole bunch of toxins by losing that fat. And they're now circulating in the body, and that is not safe for us. So we've got to put that weight back on to re-enrobe those toxins to protect the vital organs, right? So this is one of the big reasons why we have this yo-yo diet effect and why it's really a little bit dangerous to go on a really restricted calorie diet without addressing the toxicity first, without making sure your digestion is working, making sure you're having bowel movements, at least one full complete evacuation every day. 2 or 3 is better, right? Because as Linda said, that is one of the body's primary ways of moving toxins out of the body. And if you're not pooping, you're not moving the toxins out, and they are being reabsorbed from the gut back into the circulating body. Okay, so that is really, really important. So We've talked about the toxicity. We've talked a little bit about hormones. Stress is another really, really big one. When we are living in fight or flight, which 99% of the population probably is, your body thinks that it needs to hang on to fat cells for energy. The body, when cortisol is elevated, stress hormones are chronically elevated, that signals our body to keep more blood sugar in circulation, right? Which wreaks havoc on our metabolism, our metabolic system, and causes the body to conserve sugar and fat because it doesn't know why we're stressed. It doesn't know if we're facing a famine or we're running from a dangerous animal in the jungle, or what the situation is or how long it's going to last. So it is conserving energy by hanging on to sugar and fat and not allowing our body to release that.
Yeah. And what happens is when you're in that fight or flight, the brain is telling the adrenals, release more blood. We need to run. We need to deal with this problem. Release more blood sugar, release more blood sugar. So people might be managing their diet, but because they're in fight or flight, there's a constant releasing of blood sugar, which is creating insulin resistance. Anytime, whether it's because you ate food or because you're releasing it from the liver and it's going into the bloodstream, your pancreas is going to release insulin to manage that. And now you've got this wonky insulin up, drop, up, drop, up, drop. And now you're insulin resistant, which is metabolic chaos is what it is. So if you're not managing your stress and you're only looking at your diet, it can be very confusing as to why is my blood sugar still a problem. So that's, why when Christy was talking to this woman yesterday, it's like it can be frustrating that the narrative out in the world is still stuck on calories in, calories out, because then there's a lot of shame about that, right? Like, I swear I'm trying to eat well. And then we feel like shameful about our bodies or like we're not doing a good job. And it may not be the case at all. But then you've got all of the possible shame and the stress about the body itself adding to the whole picture. So I've certainly been there. I'm sure people listening can say I've been there too. And I think what I got a little sad about too hearing is that I don't care about inflammation. I don't care about sore knees. I don't care about constipation. I only care about weight, because also in our culture as women, the biggest thing that many women worry about is how do I look? How do I look? I don't care if I'm really not as healthy as I could be. If I looked good, I'm happy. That's what I heard in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no question that our appearance as women is an important part of our confidence, how we feel about ourselves, how we show up in the world. But, it's an inside job. What is showing up on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. So if there's excess weight that we just cannot lose no matter what, and this obviously doesn't apply to someone who is clearly not eating in a helpful way and just consuming too many calories and completely sedentary. Obviously, that's a different story. But the women that Linda and I tend to work with and talk to are not in that category, right? They're working so hard. They are living on salad and just don't understand why they can't lose the weight. And there is so much shame involved. But what we have to understand is what is happening on the outside with the weight, with the skin, with the hair and nails, is a reflection of what is going on the inside. So we have to address it on an internal level and say, okay, what are these things telling me? What's the message that I should be receiving from these symptoms? What is my body trying to communicate? And what do I need to do differently to love and support her better, to bring her back into balance so that she feels safe losing this weight and releasing it and coming back to an ideal healthy weight. And what I find, and Linda, I would love to hear if this is your experience too, but what I find is when we do the work to address the hormone imbalances, the toxicity, the stress, both physiological and emotional and traumatic stress that may be stored in the body, we have to address all of those things. And when we do that and we bring the body back into balance and she feels safe, she naturally comes back to an ideal, healthy weight without, most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, there's no need to diet. There's no need to count calories or grams of anything or restrict our eating, as long as we're loving and caring for our body well by eating clean, whole foods, not overindulging. We don't even have to consciously focus on weight loss. When we do the underlying work first, the body just naturally comes back to a place of being at your ideal healthy weight, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Sergio's saying hello from Mexico. Hey, Sergio, thanks for tuning in, as I think you often do. So I appreciate that. And you're saying hello. To Christy's point, the weight is a symptom of the other things. So the other things are happening. When they've been happening long enough, weight comes on. When you're addressing those things and you start to peel them away and get them back in alignment and right where they need to be, the weight can shed. So it's like you're doing the opposite. When you're focusing on the weight, you're doing the opposite of what really needs to happen and the way your body's going to respond the best. And when you do it in the order of, it's an inside job, I love that. When you do it from that perspective, and then it's like, oh, I'm not even noticing, and weight's coming off. Something that you mentioned in terms of emotions and weight is that weight can become a way of protecting ourselves from vulnerability, from sharing our heart, from connections, whatever is our history in terms of relationships and the kinds of households that we grew up in. Again, you use the word safety a lot, and that's why this, like feeling safe to share, to open our heart and to be open-hearted and to take the walls down and to practice vulnerability. Sometimes keeping weight on our body is a way to, put a buffer in between us and that, because that can feel really scary. That's some of the work that I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so important. I love that is a big focus of yours, Linda. And, it's often the case as well, in addition to the physiological things that we've talked about that cause our bodies to hang on to weight, is when we went through trauma, especially something like sexual abuse. We have this tendency, our bodies, not us intentionally or consciously, but our bodies have a tendency to hang on to weight as a protective mechanism, as a way to protect us from future threats, as a way to protect us from the shame of that situation. So working with someone like Linda, and I would recommend Linda for sure for this type of work. There is no one better for this type of work. But if that's something that you've struggled with and you know that is playing a role for you, then reach out to Linda and do the work to heal from the trauma and the shame of whatever those hard things are that you may have gone through earlier in your life that absolutely may be playing a role in keeping your nervous system dysregulated, keeping your body in fight or flight, and keeping your body from feeling safe to release the weight, no matter how much you restrict calories.
Yeah. And sometimes too, like just to stack onto that a little bit, maybe those things, intense things didn't happen in your past, but maybe you're in a relationship now or a marriage that is, toxic. You're not close to each other. You don't, maybe you don't talk great to each other, or he doesn't talk great to you, or he's gone all the time. And that weight then too is like a protection, because I don't feel safe and connected to my spouse. I don't feel like they really listen to me. I don't feel like I'm important. So there's not this past sexual trauma. There's just a toxic relationship now. Well, if I'm holding extra weight, I can sort of insulate myself from this is painful. It's another place to look.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the bottom line here is if you are in this situation that we're describing where you've been working so hard to lose, whether it's 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 pounds or more than that, even, um, and it doesn't matter. You cannot move the needle no matter how much you exercise, no matter how much you restrict calories, no matter how healthfully you eat, then look deeper. Okay. Do not just accept this narrative that it's calories in, calories out, because it is just not true, right? At the most basic level, there is some truth to that, right? But you have to address all of these other layers first and make sure that everything else is aligned to allow your body to feel safe releasing the weight.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that gives you some food for thought, no pun intended, food for thought this weekend, about just where your body's at and what it's been telling you. We often talk about the body and what it tells us. And to me, the physical body is a reflection of what's happening internally in my thoughts, in my emotions, hormonally. It's all there physically represented. Is the last thing to show up of all the other things that start first, then the physicality follows and matches. And by the way, that means the physicality or the physiology, your physical body, will also be the last thing as you start to address thoughts and feelings and you shift them, because those, thoughts and feelings on an energetic level are energy without matter. Your physical body is matter. It's heavier. It's going to take longer to respond. So as you address that, the last place you'll see it will be in your physical body. But that's when you know you've done the right work to make it be consistent and lasting change, because you're healing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find, even to stack on that, Linda, is that of the physical things that we need to heal in the body, weight is usually the last thing to shift. And that is really frustrating for a lot of my clients who that is a high priority for them. But I always tell them up front, be patient, because weight is typically the last thing to shift, right? We see improvements in our pain and inflammation. We see improvements in our sleep. We see improvements in anxiety levels, skin issues, digestive issues, all of these different things. You will start to see significant improvement in some of them pretty quickly. You can see those things turn around very quickly when you know how to address them and how to care for the body properly. But the weight is usually the last thing that we see shift. And that is the kind of final thing that says, okay, we're back in balance. Everything is good. I feel safe.
Yeah.
I am healthy. I don't have to worry about protecting myself from anything, from these emotional stressors, from the chemical stressors in my body, from bacteria or virus or other pathogens, from chemicals in the food. I'm good. Now I can let go of this weight.
Yes.
So be
Yep.
patient and understand going into this type of a journey that it takes time. You didn't get here overnight, and it's not going to turn around overnight, but it can happen very quickly. Within weeks to a few months, we can make really significant progress in resolving a whole host of symptoms. And then as the body comes back into balance, the weight will shift as well.
Yep. So that woman, 20 years, has been a struggle, and it looks like she's going to keep on struggling. That doesn't have to be your story at all.
Yeah.
From a couple of weeks to a couple of months, Christy is a master at getting to the root issues and figuring them out, and she's happy to work with you. And I really love what I do too, and my clients have amazing breakthroughs in their health and their vitality, and also in their relationships and their personal joy. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'll definitely be checking any comments that you drop anywhere. And, if you want us to reach out, just put that in the comments. I want to talk to you, or talk or something, and we'll make sure that we set aside some time in our calendar and have a conversation with you. Sound good?
Yep. Yep. Sounds great. Thank you all for sharing a little part of your Friday afternoon with us. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Stay cool if you're in my neck of the woods. Whew.
Yes. Same
All
here.
right. All right. Bye-bye.